Guardian, stating that one or more men had raped her in her hotel room in Paris the previous year, putting drugs in her drink to disable her. In May of 1999, while reading a book on French literary fascism and sipping a Kir Royale in a Paris hotel garden, Dworkin was, according to her account, slipped some kind of drug by a barman. Back in her room, reeling from the narcotic, she was savagely raped by two hotel staff members, she believed by the same barman and a waiter, she said. This was, as later described by British author and journalist Charlotte Raven, a widely disbelieved claim. Well, as it could be expected, still her articles ignited quite a bit of public controversy, polarizing opinion between skeptics and supporters. Seizing upon inconsistencies in her two essays about the incident published in The Guardian and The New Statesman and her failure to contact hotel security or police, many even among her fellow feminists suggested the rape did not happen. Dworkin seems to think her story should be taken as further evidence of masculine malevolence, said Julia Grayson in Salon's article. I think it is fair to say that few people believed Andrea Dworkin's account of her drug rape in a Paris hotel room in 1999. Even sympathetic obituarists felt bound to suggest that the catalog of abuse that followed Dworkin all her life and which fueled her writings was viewed with suspicion in many quarters, says Deborah Orr in obituary published by The Independent. Dworkin, an anti-rape activist who has devoted much time and energy to battling the crime, decided not to inform the police or hotel security when she realized what had happened to her, says another obituarist. Even Dworkin's so-called husband, gay feminist John Stoltenberg, who by that time has lived with Dworkin for 25 years, did not really believe her. John looked for any other explanation than rape, Dworkin writes. He abandoned me emotionally. This response, though, did not surprise Dworkin. If the Holocaust can be denied even today, she said, how can a woman who has been raped be believed? She said. Well, some commentators even claim that the rape most likely occurred in her dreams. Michael Lamport Commons, a researcher with Harvard Medical School's program in psychiatry and law, said, for example, I quote him, lying is a concept of free will. People have to know that they are telling untruths in order to be justifiably called liars. He was not sure that that is the case with Dworkin, and he said, while rare, people have dreams of being raped, which appear real to them. Many character disorders, including borderline personality, involve lying and not knowing one lies. End of quote. Well, as I see it, her obsession with rape possibly led her to fantasize about having been herself a victim of rape, to become deluded that she had, in fact, been raped herself. I believe that the reason why Dworkin was so extreme in her beliefs about men was because she experienced an extreme life, not just as a woman, but as an unattractive, clever woman, says Deborah Orr from The Independent. As Deborah Orr says, for yet more, though, Dworkin was simply too fat and ugly to receive any sexual attention at all, and a nutcase to boot. Yes, even in obituaries, after her death, what is very unusual, many writers didn't fail to mention how ugly she was. She indeed, it's enough just to look at her photo. She indeed was morbidly obese, devastatingly ugly, and repulsive in every conceivable way. While the majority of women seek to be attractive, Dworkin sought to be ugly. Her refusal to make any concessions to feminine beauty was bound up in her philosophy, of course. not least because while some women regarded it as an act of bravery, others saw it as a symptom of her problems. Dworkin pretends to be a daring truth-teller, wrote the feminist Camille Paglia, but never mentions her most obvious problem, food. In Dworkin's obituary, The Guardian quotes writer Mimi Spencer, who wrote about Andrea Dworkin that, I quote, "She looks as though she neither waxes, nor washes, nor flushes, nor flosses." And so, being fat and hairy, she was obsessed about rape because no man would ever want her. It just seemed like to imagine, let's say, Sally Shecklow to be raped. That's beyond my imagination. Even reading obituary in such liberal leftist publication as The Nation, I found this, I quote, "Andrea Dworkin was a living visual stereotype. The feminist as fat, hairy, makeup-scorning, unkempt lesbian. Perhaps that was one reason she was such a media icon. She proved that feminism was for women who couldn't get a man." This is from The Nation, May 2nd, 2005, obituary after Dworkin's death. But I like most how one internet blogger put it, that, and I quote him, "The only reason Andrea Dworkin says the stuff she says is because she is stomach-churningly ugly." And he writes, "Dworkin reminds me of some talentless non-entity stating that they are poor and unknown because they made a conscious decision not to be rich and famous, as if these latter possibilities were ever on the cards. Andrea could be profitably employed by Scotland's tourist industry to swim up and down Loch Ness to lure in hordes of visitors hoping to see the monster. And they wouldn't be disappointed. God, what a sight." Yeah, she was ugly and bitter, the personification of female resentment. So naturally, Dworkin vilified men. Her reasons were both systematic and personal. On the personal level, her abuse of men and denigration of heterosexuality reflected her low self-esteem and befuddled intellect. It is a case of hating the thing you want the most. She made herself deliberately ugly in order to defy men. She became a woman who couldn't get raped even if she wanted. Being ugly, unwashed, unkept were things she wore on her sleeve and the rest of her body. In fact, her gross obesity became so severe that it led to her premature death. In a way, so it was a death at the hands of feminism. There were also political reasons for her man-hating, of course. There is a powerful feminist requirement to have such an ideology, that all men are bastards, rapists, exploiters. Feminism seeks alienation between man and woman. That's all they do. I said last Friday that as the women's movement turned fanatical and ugly in the 1960s and 1970s, when persons like Betty Friedan and Andrea Dworkin took over, the focus began to shift from reform and equal opportunity. The feminist leaders such as Friedan and Dworkin, humorless, militant, pugnacious, and angry with their particular lot in life, fostered a virulent hatred of anything having to do with males. They no longer wanted to equalize the status of woman, but instead wanted to irreversibly alienate woman from man and vice versa. Only when manhood is dead, and it will perish when ravaged femininity no longer sustains it, only then will we know what it is to be free. Andrea Dworkin, in her speech on September 26, 1975, at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, said, "Above her desk in her New York home was a poster that said, 'Dead men don't rape.'" Well, I repeat, it is the campaign to turn woman against man on the grounds that they all are rapists. And no one doubts that some men are rapists, but this is no way establishes that all men are. And here we finish now, and we'll continue next Friday, since we have that opportunity, and we will talk about the fruits of radical feminism. And we still have 15 minutes.
No, well, yeah, you have about 35 minutes. Yes, and we have 15 minutes for Q&A.
Yeah, I finished.
Good, perfect timing.
Yeah.
So we have 15 minutes left for questions.
Okay.
Who's first? Who's burning? Edwin.
Why would the CIA want to support Ms. Magazine?
Well, that's a long story, and well, I should talk for another at least 20 minutes. How that thing happened, and maybe for an hour and a half. So, well, CIA supported many magazines. There was this cultural, how to say, against influence of KGB, basically. So I can't really just answer in 2 words. I even think but yeah, we can talk sometime about that. That's interesting topic about how the CIA supported all those neocons, basically, like Irving Kristol was editor of this magazine, how it called in London? I forgot. So that was supported by the CIA. Yeah, we can do sometime this. Yeah, I study those things in great detail.
Yes. Feminism into a search engine, and it came out very simply that feminism is just for equal rights for women in all areas. By that definition, would you say you're a feminist?
I don't believe women have equal rights.
Should they have equal rights?
Should they have,
that therefore,
for instance, what areas politically?
Everything.
I believe that women should have equal rights with men, yes.
Orville, do you believe that women should have equal rights in all areas?
I don't have a considered opinion on that. The question has too many implications.
How about you?
Well, I have an opinion and very firm belief that women do have equal rights, and if not in all areas, so at 99% of areas, as you can. Well, I don't know. We have Hillary Clinton as state secretary. We have woman as president in Lithuania now, and we just can look around, and I think
that's ideal then for you. That's good.
No, well, if my country's president is a woman, so well, what else rights we can have? You know, Hillary was running for president of the United States. So. No, I'm not against well, feminism. I don't know what it means. I'm not against
what it says on the internet. It just says equal rights.
Well, you can find many things on the internet. I found many stuff that I just quoted today in the internet. But feminism, well, I wouldn't call this feminism. It was like, movement for equal rights for women, like to vote. Let's say I can't pronounce that. Suffragettes, movement.